Thank you so much for all these wonderful accolades that the speakers before me have accorded me. I'm least deserving of it, but I'm thankful for Rohit to have invited me here at the release of his book. Rohit couldn't have chosen a better title for this book because it just goes with my feelings. I hate the word Bollywood. And, but having glanced through some pages of the book on my way here, I would not like to ask him whether the main protagonist in the film is indeed him or not. Many of the occasions that he has mentioned as incidents in the life of this character are indeed quite similar to some of the experiences that journalists have with film stars. And I wish him all the best. He's been a very humble and an extremely kind gentleman. Most of his episodes with me have been most generous. Sometimes it's difficult for journalists to do that, but I must thank him for this. I wish this book all success, and I hope that he continues to write in the future as well. He's just spreading his wings in all directions. One wishes him all the best for all the work that he's done so far, particularly in the field of journalism, not just in writing, in his interviews and now on television, and then now a writer of this wonderful book. I wish you all success, Rohit, and may you continue to write, and may you continue to prosper. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for having me here today.
May I please invite on stage Bisujit ji, Ajay Mago, and let's finally release the book of, like Mr. Bachchan said, the protagonist who started with hate but had a huge love story eventually. I think
the Indian film industry is quite big, quite important, and sufficient to describe our industry. I don't think we need to borrow any kind of other sentiments from other parts of the world to describe our cinema. We have great pride in the fact that I'm a very small member of this wonderful fraternity. I think the Indian film industry is, whether we like it or not, has become almost a parallel culture of our nation. Many believe that it is Hollywood that is seen by a large number of people, but I may be wrong here, but some statistics that were given to me some time back actually stated that 3.2 billion people watch Hollywood and 3.8 billion watch Indian cinema. So in some ways we are ahead of them, and I hope we can continue to be that way. So I feel that why imitate somebody else? And I'm sorry for bringing this up, but you know, when you see my film Amitabh, you will find incidents of this as well in the film. Thank you.
Okay. We're looking forward, of course, to watching that film, Mr. Bachchan. Rohit, one of the things you've written about in the book is covering the hospital beat, or what journalists describe as that job when you're meant to report live coverage when celebrities are admitted in hospital. You've written about covering, reporting from Leelavati Hospital when Mr. Bachchan had a health scare a few years ago. You've spoken about how journalists bond at such occasions. They bond over lunch at a nearby restaurant. The question I have to ask you is, do you find that as journalists we tend to become desensitized towards film stars? We tend to see them just as stories and not as human beings and people who face challenges and health scares.
We are the most insensitive people on earth. So we are, no doubt about that. So sorry I'm bringing this up, but yeah, when celebrities are at the hospital, small example, if Sir is in the hospital and we see Abhishek going inside, wonder why he didn't speak to us. We don't realize that it's his father inside. We just feel, oh, he didn't speak to us. A lot of media members, we do feel, but yeah, we are very insensitive. We should change that. We should bond at better places and not outside hospitals.
I just feel that it's a very sensitive moment when someone is ill. Whereas I should respect the right of the journalist in the freedom of expression that he has, and I respect that. But sometimes the sensitivity of the moment and the emotions that run with the people that are involved needs to be understood. There have been many occasions, unfortunately, when I have had to be in hospital. And what happens at times is that it has taken almost 20 minutes for me to come out of the ambulance and be taken to the ICU, purely because the gates of the ambulance could not open because the photographers and the journalists were actually blocking it. And if there are emotions expressed by members of the family at that point of time, it needs to be understood a bit. But I had another surprising incident when I was on another occasion in the hospital. When I was in the ICU, after a couple of days, Jaya, who had also taken a room in the hospital for the family to live in, suddenly walked down one morning and said, why are you giving interviews from the ICU? So I said, no, I'm not doing any interviews. He said, no, but you know, the whole media is writing what you're wearing, what you're doing, what you were saying. I said, I haven't done anything of the sort. It was actually a very enterprising journalist who dressed up as a doctor, put a stethoscope around their neck, walked into the ICU, came and said hello to me, and I responded and said hello. And she said, how are you feeling? I said, I'm fine. I said, are you a doctor? She said, yes. And that's it. And she went and reported outside. Sometimes it's a little intrusive, but also doesn't speak very well for the security of the hospital. But yeah, I would look upon it as you know, lightheartedness. The management of the media company that sent her in was actually quite proud of her. So, you know, I really appreciate the fact that you had the guts to go in there. But you know, these are some of the things that happen. But most of the times, I think the media has been very sensitive towards such occasions.
Mr. Bachchan, this is a book about the life and times of a film journalist. It talks about the various experiences of meeting with actors and covering the beat of journalism. Do you remember, you've been an actor for so many years now, do you remember, is it fair to ask you to jog your memory and ask you if you remember the first interview that you gave? Do you have any memory of that? To whom, when?
Yes, I do. I did a few interviews before actually joining films, but that's best forgotten. When I came to the movies, I think the first interview I did was with Devi from Star and Style.
Devyani Chopal.
Devyani Chopal, yes.
Rohit, Hindi film stars have their own standard time. I'm a little embarrassed to say this in front of Mr. Bachchan because he, of course, has a reputation for being extremely punctual to a fault, in fact. But as journalists, you recognize that we tend to, and there are many media persons in the room.